Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Hello, Meredith. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you're doing good.
I am doing good. I love Valentine's Day because I love chocolate.
Well, I hope that your Valentine got you some chocolate.
He hasn't yet, but the day's young. I haven't actually seen him today.
Okay, well, maybe he'll listen to the podcast and be reminded that he better get you some chocolate.
Oh, I'm going to send it to him today, just as like a little hint. How are you, Dad? Did you enjoy watching The Bachelor last night while the UNC Tar Heels were playing?
Well, let's forget about the UNC Tar Heels. I just found last night's episode to be, I don't know, a little boring. I don't know. There was not a lot going on. I mean, I guess the drama was sort of a Mean Girls thing going on between Kylie and who's the other lady?
Anastasia.
So it was a little much and a little tiring, and wasn't the best episode we've had.
I agree. I think last week was a very good episode. We had like the big twist of Christina going home, and then I feel like we're reaping the consequences of that this week. We don't have the drama, we don't have the excitement, and a lot of these women that Zach likes, they're pretty boring.
Each year we try to pick a villain, and I'm not sure that Christina rose to the villain level. I'm not sure we've actually had a villain up to this point in time.
Christina burned bright and fast, and then she was gone. And it seems like maybe each week we're going to have a new villain that gets sent home that same week.
But we've had really bad villains that have been really trying to manipulate things and whatnot. These young ladies, I don't think have risen to that level yet, but we still have time.
No, and Zach is very anti-drama. Who knows if he's going to let it rise to the level of villain?
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we should create like sort of a Bachelor bingo game and try to come up with the words that we know are going to get spoken each week and put them on a bingo board, like vulnerable and they always say they're so excited for the date and whatnot. I'm sure we could come up with like lots of Bachelor words and create the Bachelor bingo game.
That's a good idea. Like journey, that's a good one.
Yeah. Commitment, relationship, best friend.
Scared, fear.
We'll workshop that.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know if we make one. We'll put it up on our Instagram so you can play along.
Yeah.
Before we get started, a little Bachelor Nation housekeeping. I texted you about this yesterday. Our old Bachelor bud, Clayton Echard, has written a book.
Which surprised me because he didn't seem to be that good with big words.
No, I mean, writing a book is probably a stretch. He might have had some ideas given to a ghostwriter.
But I can't. I'm sure that there's nothing in it that's too behind the scenes. Aren't they don't they sign contracts and there's only so much they can talk about?
So I didn't even read the blurb of the book because that's how little I cared. But based off the title, I believe it was more about his journey through mental health throughout his life, which also is not what I want to hear about from Clayton.
No, we don't want to diminish any issues he's having, and we wish him the best. But it's a little bit of a yawn for those of us that are found Clayton to be somewhat of a yawn.
Yeah, and I would actually even though we have a podcast on The Bachelor, which is because of me, not so much you. You weren't the one pushing for this, but I think I'm pretty proud of the fact that I've never read a book written by anyone in Bachelor Nation, and I love to read. So it's kind of surprising, but I've got some book standards here.
I mean, is there a big library of books from people that have been on The Bachelor?
Oh, yes. I follow this Instagram account called Bachelor Data and they create these really cool graphics based off of data from Bachelor Nation. And one of them is a timeline of all the books written by people in the franchise. And there are a lot of them.
Okay. Who knew? All right. Well, I'm proud that you have not gone down that road. So good for you.
Yeah, but despite that, congrats to Clayton. I hope people read your book.
Good
We
luck,
will not be those people, but I hope someone does.
We hope you find your audience, Clayton. Go for it.
All right, let's get into some highs. The Bahamas are looking great.
Have you been to the Bahamas?
I don't know. I've been to some Caribbean islands. I'm not sure if the Bahamas are one of them.
We might have stopped there on a cruise at one point in time. I've been to Nassau. Which I did a quick Google search of the Baha Mar Resort, which is where our group has gone to, and it's in Nassau on Cable Beach, which is pretty famous. It's sort of, the touristy part of the Bahamas and Nassau. So yeah, the Nassau's and the Bahamas are looking good. They're doing some snorkeling and water looks great. It's going to be a nice day here in North Carolina, but we've had some cold weather. It would be nice.
I wouldn't mind spending a week down there right about now.
Well, I'm sure some of the ladies look at being on Bachelor that way of like, they're pretty excited when they were sitting in the mansion and Jesse Palmer said, "Hey, we're going somewhere," and a lot of shrieking.
It would have been funny, you know how they're doing that little drum roll?
Yeah.
And last time Jesse Palmer did this, I think on maybe it was Clayton season, and he's like, "We're going to Cleveland." I think it would have been funny if there was a drum roll for Cleveland.
And they all just sort of stopped and looked at each other and said, "Is he kidding? What's going on?"
That would have been good. I mean, this season we got the Bahamas. Next week we got London. We're leaving Cleveland in the dust.
With that said, I've been to Cleveland and I enjoyed Cleveland, and I'm pro rock and roll Hall of Fame. So there could be worse places to go to Cleveland, but certainly not as exotic. Yeah, I think they do look for opportunities to put these people in bathing suits.
This show, The Bachelor,
Yeah.
bathing suits.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That and how we have to open every single episode with a Zach showering.
I know. I didn't even bother to put that on low lights. I've been harping on that so far. I didn't even bother, but yeah, we got to see that again. Now. Yeah. So, well, I enjoyed. I struggled to find lots of highlights in this episode. I will say that I enjoyed the goofy dancing that Zach and Kat were doing on the catamaran. You don't seem to like it, but to me, it struck me as more dad dancing, which I'm into. You can sort of dance without actually having to move your feet. Sort of just sway back and forth.
Zach's kind of not a dad, though.
Well, but the dads appreciate that sort of dancing. He's going to be a great dad.
He also had a dad joke before then. Did you catch it? Something about his Bahama mama.
I think I missed that, or it went over my dad's head.
It's probably for the best.
Okay. What highs did you have?
Well, other than the Bahamas looking great, my only other high, and I think most people wouldn't consider this a high, but I just found it very funny. During the group date when Anastasia, I guess they were limboing at some point, and she asked Zach for a good luck kiss before she went under the limbo bar, and he was super uncomfortable, and it was really awkward, and he just kind of offered his cheek to her, and I audibly laughed at that.
Well, and that seemed to be the start of the whole Anastasia controversy of the young ladies seemed to have some agreement that they were just going to have mellow time and all share Zach, and then Anastasia asked for a kiss. How dare she? And all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, and I also feel like for the most part, Zach's pretty bad at hiding who he doesn't like.
Either he's going to stick his tongue down your throat or not. Is that sort of the dividing line?
Yeah. The only caveat I have with that is that he kissed Davia during the cocktail party before the rose ceremony and then sent her home, which I was surprised by. I thought he would have just not kissed her.
Well, uh, I struggle for highs. I mean, I found the story that Brooklyn shared about her previous abusive relationship. I don't want to call it a high, but I appreciated her bravery in sharing it. And, we wish the best for Brooklyn. She got a one-on-one date, which surprised me a little bit because I didn't really see her as that much of a contender.
Agreed.
But when they had dinner, she shared that she'd had a very difficult relationship that seemed to involve both mental and physical abuse, and when you're having a serious relationship with somebody, you need to let them know what's in your past. So good for her, and she was very brave about that. So
I agree. I have more to say on that later.
okay, that's all I got on the highs.
Okay, great. Let's get into the lows then.
Okay.
First for me, sexy sunscreen time. Not for me. Made me a bit uncomfortable. The whole I'm SPFing you thing, and going into that, I find Zach and Catherine, who we are now calling Kat apparently, to be incredibly boring together. The whole date was boring. Them together is boring. I was not enjoying watching at all.
So you're anti. Look, our family needs to be wearing sunscreen. You need to be wearing sunscreen. So what's your problem with the sunscreen? You just don't like some dude rubbing it all over you?
No, it's just that they're trying to make it sexy, and like they put on the sexy music behind it, and it's just like I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I also don't enjoy putting on sunscreen. It's not fun. But that's a whole nother low. We don't need to make putting sunscreen on each other sexy. Like it's not like a fun, quirky thing. It's just like put your sunscreen on. Let's move on. We don't need to show this on national television.
Okay, well that's fine. It didn't really register that much with me. So that's fine.
Another low for me. Maybe it's a high. Gabby crying over her shellfish allergy. Apparently during the group date, they're on an island eating a lot of shellfish, and she has an allergy. She was like crying because she's not able to participate and stand out, and also crying because Zach ate shellfish and now she can't kiss him.
Yeah, I was. I put that down as a low as well, and her concern that she couldn't stand out. I kept thinking, hey, you want to stand out? Eat some shellfish and let the medical people come deal with you, and that'll be a very memorable situation.
Yeah, Zach will be all worried for you. It'll be great.
They'll come see you in the hospital. So maybe you'll get the sympathy rose.
My last low was Kylie is in my top 4. Not a great pick for me for a top 4. And she's also from the great state of North Carolina, lives in Charlotte. Seems like a very nice girl, but she was being so whiny and annoying about Anastasia. And then, Zach sends her home and Kylie starts crying over it. And then she's crying and freaking out that she doesn't get to talk to him at the cocktail party. It was just too much for me.
Yeah, well, it was not a good look for Kylie. And one of my concerns was I never got the sense that the big drama came up that apparently at one point Anastasia said something about the number of Instagram followers that they would be getting or something like that. But I'm not sure Kylie was actually part of that conversation. It just seemed to be a third party. Someone heard it and said it to Kylie, and the whole thing seemed a little unnecessary. And then if you notice, Anastasia is a content marketing manager. That's her job. So it just sort of made me wonder if that's just the way she thinks. That hey, you have a podcast about The Bachelor. You must have 10,000 Instagram followers. No, I don't. But maybe she categorizes people in that sort of way. I don't know, but the whole same thing seemed to be overblown, and she was certainly a whiner about it.
I do understand her being upset about the fight comment. Anastasia definitely took that and ran with it. But, whatever. But Kylie was just very whiny and annoying.
Well, speaking of whiny and annoying, I didn't like it when the first one-on-one card came out, and it was for Kat, and one of my finalists, Greer, she starts breaking down because she didn't get the one-on-one date, and there just seemed to be a lot of crying and teeth gnashing. And look, I don't know how many ladies were still there, 14, 16, something like that. It's like, do the math. The odds aren't great that it's going to be you this time. Maybe it's going to be you. I know you hope it's going to be you, but I don't know. They seem to be a little over the top in the way they were reacting about it. So
I can see why Greer's upset. She got the first impression rose and hasn't really gotten anything since. But still, I don't know. The crying it's a bit much.
Yeah, I thought that was over the top. Another thing that rubbed me the wrong way, and maybe it was because my basketball team was losing again, and then I was just in a bad mood. I don't know. Was the date that you characterized as boring between Kat and Zach? When they're having dinner, she starts going through her mom issues and things like that, and I felt like Zach went into psychiatry mode and was trying to analyze the whole thing. And I'm not a big person. I don't often use mansplain, but he just seemed to be over the top. And it was like, Zach, you're not a professional counselor. Shut the hell up. You can listen to her, but it's not your job to analyze all this. And he was sort of aggravating and irritating me.
Oh, interesting. I took that a different way.
As he's Mr. Sensitive?
No, well, this is part of my right reason, which I gave to Zach. I think that he's good at listening and responding to the women when they open up to him about things. Like, a lot of the leads, when the sob stories come out, I feel like they're just like, oh, wow, that must have been tough. And then they make out. I think that Zach's much better at responding and being a little more thoughtful about what he says afterwards, which, I mean, the bar is pretty low for that, for the show, but I think he does a good job, trying to, when Catherine's talking about her mom, when Brooklyn's talking about her experience with domestic violence, I think he handles it well.
Well, I think he handles it well, but I think there's a line that you don't want to cross in terms of providing too much advice or too much analysis. It always strikes me as the person on the radio who's a doctor and listens to somebody for 30 seconds and says, "Oh, you got cancer." I mean, you really need to take some more time to understand people's situations before you have a knee-jerk response. And I just felt Zach was going a little too far.
Okay, that's fine. Any other lows?
No, I sort of thought that Kylie might just be a liar, just the way she was acting. So I'm not a fan of, whether it's the whining or I thought she was misrepresenting some things. So I'm not a fan of Kylie either. Sorry.
That's fine. Who's your right reason? We talked through mine of Zach.
Yours is Zach again?
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think he's on a streak. Hasn't he been your guy the whole time?
Yeah, it's a pleasant surprise. I think he's doing very well as the lead.
Okay. Well, for right reason this week, I went with Ariel, who is one of your finalists, and and maybe it's a reach to say it's for the right reason. Maybe it was for selfish reasons, but uh, when Zach is sort of having a hard time with the whole Kylie Anastasia thing, she snuggles up with him and seemed to be able to calm him down. And I just found her just very engaging. I think I sort of am putting her sort of towards the top of the list at this point in time. I think she's a real contender, and she's funny. She's interesting. So I'm liking Ariel, and thought that she was doing a good job of connecting with Zach. So I would say, right reason, selfish reason, whatever. I'm going to go with Ariel this week.
I like that pick. I think Ariel is way out of Zach's league. She's very pretty. Like the way that she speaks, she seems so intelligent and mature and just way above everything that's going on in the show. I don't know why she's here.
Well, she's trying to get those Instagram followers. Come on.
Speaking of, my wrong reason I'm giving to Anastasia, not because she's talking about Instagram influencers, because it's so ridiculous that all these girls are like, how dare you speak about Instagram followers? They're all thinking it. Anastasia's just too dumb not to speak on it. Like, you can't talk about it. That can be your whole reason for going on the show, but never ever verbalize it.
That's her vocation. That's her job. She's a marketing content manager.
But that's fine if you're like talking about your connections. But if she's saying, oh, we all made the top 14, we're going to have at least 50K followers. Don't say that.
We didn't actually hear her say that, did we?
No, because they're saying it happened at 3 a.m. at the airport.
Yeah, so we're getting this from third parties and whatnot. So I don't know.
And I did just check. Let me double check. Anastasia made top 14, 26K followers. So I'm not even sure she's very good at her job. She doesn't seem to know. She can't read the room.
Disappointing.
Also, we spoke on this a bit. I didn't like the way she twisted Kylie's words when Kylie was trying to steal Zach. And she's like, I don't want to fight you on this. Obviously, she was talking about like arguing, bickering, and then the fact that Anastasia's going around being like, Kylie wants to fight me. I felt so scared. I felt very inappropriate and just like, it really rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, for wrong reason, I put Anastasia and Kylie. So
not Kyrie.
Yeah, that's a different wrong reason. Kylie. And I just sort of felt they were playing mean girl games and crying and whining, and I just lumped them together. I don't know which is right, which is wrong. They both seem wrong enough to me, so I gave them both the wrong reason this week.
That's fair. My MVP, I'm giving it to Brooklyn. Catherine, very boring. Did not enjoy watching her one-on-one. Brooklyn, she's like funny, quirky, tough. I like that she's a bit weird. Like I like that she's fist bumping Zach after they kiss, and it like kind of catches him off guard. I like watching that much more than Kat rubbing sunscreen on Zach. And I think that her talking about her past history with domestic violence on national TV must be very difficult, and hopefully like helps people who have like watched it or experienced it, or just like being able to normalize talking about it if you've experienced it. And I think that's very important. And so like overall, I like Brooklyn more than I was expecting to.
I think that's fine. I kept during their date before they had dinner, when they were riding around on motorbikes and whatnot. Yeah, she just seemed to have the typical, I'm just so excited. I'm so enthusiastic. I'm not sure I've gotten the sense of who she is at this point in time. I appreciate what she shared at dinner, but it seems like too often these people just go along with whatever the bachelor or bachelorette wants them to say or do, and it's hard to get a real sense of their personality. And I guess I still struggle with that with Brooklyn a bit. So
I think that she's like the quirky, energetic person.
I did like the fist bump, though. It made me think of the David Putty high fives, and I could use some David Putty here to break this up. Or
They've
Carl,
already cut out our David Putty.
he's going to have to show up at some point in time.
I'm sure he'll be here at the end when the top two get to meet Zach's family.
I certainly hope so. Well,
So before
I think you lost one of your final four this week.
I did, and my winner pick, Genevieve. We both our winner picks are out.
Was Genevieve the one with the bad arm?
Yeah, the beginning of the episode still had a sling. End of the episode, no sling.
It's a mystery. We don't know what happened.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to end well for Genevieve when we got no backstory to the sling.
Well, good luck.
So at this point, I want you to tell me who your winner pick is and who your bachelorette pick is.
Well, if you ask me right now, I think I might go with Ariel as the winner. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I do think that Catherine / Kat and Katie, two of my picks, I think they were both in the running. And I'm not sure I can tell them apart. They seem like the same person to me. But so I think those three are sort of my top three at this point in time. As far as the next bachelorette, I don't know. Maybe Ariel or Catherine, or I think you want me to say Christina, but I don't think it's going to be her.
No, I don't think it's Christina anymore. I think bachelorette, my pick is Ariel. I think she's got like a good head on her shoulders, but we also like see that she has a good sense of humor. Like they were blowing conch when they were talking to each other, and she just seems incredibly intelligent, like good head on her shoulders. And I think that Zach can't handle a woman like that. So I think a winner, it might be recency bias, but I think he likes Kat more than Katie.
Could be.
They are both incredibly bland to me, though, so very interchangeable.
All right. Well, sounds good to me.
And any fatherly advice to wrap us up?
Well, I would say let's not judge ourselves by the number of Instagram followers we have, because ultimately social media pretty much sucks and is probably a very unhealthy thing. So let's be careful about that out there, Anastasia. To me, the whole Kylie Anastasia thing felt it was like a telephone game or third-party information, and I thought Kylie was premature in sharing it. So, it's sort of like if you've ever been in the newspaper business, you better get more than one source before you go to press, and I'm not sure that she did that. So,
she did at least have Charity backing her story.
I wasn't feeling that good about it. And again, I admire the fact that Zach doesn't let these issues fester very long. He pulls the Band-Aid off. With Anastasia, he didn't let it get to the rose ceremony. He got to the cocktail party, pulled her aside, had a conversation with her, and escorted her out. I appreciate that he seems to take care of his business pretty quickly. It reminds me of something I heard an old football coach say, Don Shula, who is probably before your time, coached the Miami Dolphins, won 2 Super Bowls, and a reporter asked him one time of dealing with all these issues, don't you get ulcers? And he looked at him and said, I don't get ulcers, I give them. And I get the sense that Zach, he's a man of action. He takes care of his business.
And he's giving people ulcers, or maybe COVID.
That could be next week.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a COVID scare next week. It looks like we were talking to Zach via Zoom. So some fun stuff to look forward to, like take us back to 2020. Here we go.
And it seems like he's had some pretty close contact with many of these ladies.
Yeah, if if Zach does have COVID and none of the women get COVID, that's just absolutely insane. Like you would think that that thing would run straight through the entire cast.
Well, it's like we have a science experiment to go through next week.
Maybe we might have to get Dr. Fauci on this one.
Well, we can. Why don't you work on that? Use your connections. See what we can do.
Okay, I'll see what I can do, everyone.
Okay.
We'd like to thank The Mesh for hosting our podcast, and if you like what you're hearing, feel free to give us a 5-star rating and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And join us next week as Dr. Fauci is here to discuss more of Zach's season from the right perspective and my dad's.